Elegance in speech is not about sounding smart. It is about sounding certain. Most people talk too much and say too little. Respect is decided in seconds by how you speak, not what you say. Elegant speakers are calm, slow, and deliberate. This audiobook will not teach you vocabulary. It will rewire your speaking identity. Elegance is restraint. Chapter 1. Stop filling space with noise. Let's start with the truth most people avoid. Silence is not awkward. Insecurity is. Read that again. Silence is not awkward. Insecurity is. Most people don't speak because they have something to say. They speak because they're uncomfortable with quiet. They panic when there's space. They rush to fill it. They flood the room with words. And every extra word leaks status. This chapter will change how you see silence forever. Because silence is not empty. Silence is loaded. Silence communicates confidence before you say anything at all. And right now, you're probably doing the opposite. Why people talk too much? Let's be honest. Over-talking is not enthusiasm. Over-talking is fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being ignored. Fear of not being enough. So people add words, then explanations, then justifications, then apologies that weren't needed. They keep talking because they think more words equal more clarity. They're wrong. More words equal more weakness. You don't gain respect by speaking more. You gain respect by speaking cleanly. You have a choice. You can speak to be heard, or you can speak to be respected. That's the key. Silence is a signal. Every interaction has signals. Your posture sends signals. Your tone sends signals. Your speed sends signals. And silence? Silence sends the loudest signal of all. Silence says, I'm comfortable here. I don't need to impress you. I trust my words to stand on their own. Weak speakers rush to fill gaps. Strong speakers create gaps. They say the sentence. Then they stop. They let the air do the work. And most people can't handle that. That's why silence works. The status leak of overtalking. When you keep talking after your point is made, you send a message. The message is not what you think. It's not, I'm thorough. It's not, I care. It's, I'm unsure. I'm nervous. I'm seeking approval. High-status people do not chase agreement with words. They state, then they wait. You don't need their permission. Say it once. Say it clearly. Then stop. That's power. Wise silence makes people uncomfortable. Silence creates tension. And tension reveals who is confident and who is not. When you stop talking, one of two things happens. 1, the other person leans in. 2, or they rush to fill the gap. Either way, you gain information. Silence forces others to show their hand. And people who talk too much never see this. They interrupt the moment before it does its job. That's a mistake. Let silence finish the sentence for you. 1 sentence is enough. Here's a rule that will change your communication overnight. 1 sentence is enough. Not 1 paragraph. Not 1 explanation. 1 sentence. State your position. Then stop. Your job is not to convince. Your job is to be clear. If they ask a question, answer it. If they don't, remain silent. You have a choice. You can let silence work for you. Or you can sabotage yourself with noise. Say less. Mean more. The myth of awkward. Let's kill a lie right now. Silence is not awkward. What people call awkward silence is actually internal discomfort. It's the feeling of not knowing what to do with yourself when there's no script. Confident people are comfortable without a script. They don't rush. They don't fidget. They don't explain. They sit in the silence like it belongs to them. Because it does. Silence belongs to whoever can handle it. That's the key. How powerful speakers use space. Watch powerful speakers closely. They don't stack sentences. They separate them. They speak. Pause. They look at you. Pause. They let the words land. Pause. Those pauses are not mistakes. They're weapons. Each pause says, I'm done speaking. It's your move. And most people rush to respond. That puts you in control. The practice. Say 1 sentence, then stop. This chapter is useless without practice. So here it is. The rule. Say one sentence. Then stop, even if it feels uncomfortable. Especially if it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is your insecurity dying. You will feel the urge to continue. Resist it. Let silence stretch. Let it breathe. That's how authority is built. You don't need to explain yourself into respect. Respect follows restraint. Say less. Mean more. What to stop doing immediately. Stop narrating your thoughts. Stop thinking out loud. Stop adding disclaimers. Stop saying, "What I mean is," let me explain, just to clarify. Clarity does not require justification. If your sentence needs defending, it wasn't ready to be spoken. That's the key. Think first. Speak once. Stop. Why this feels hard at first. This will feel uncomfortable. Good. That's because your identity is shifting. You are moving from reactive speaker to deliberate speaker, from filler words to weighted words, from noise to presence. You're not losing your voice. You're sharpening it. And sharp things don't ramble. Silence creates gravity. Gravity is what pulls attention. Not volume, not speed, not passion. Gravity. Silence creates gravity. When you stop speaking, people listen harder. They replay your words in their head. They feel the weight. That's what you want. Say less. Mean more. Here's what you need to remember from this chapter. Silence is not awkward. Insecurity is. Overtalking leaks status. Pausing builds authority. One sentence is enough. Speak clearly. Then stop. Because when you control silence, you control the room. And in the next chapter, we'll take this further by eliminating emotional speech entirely and learning how to speak from decision, not feeling. That's where real elegance begins. Chapter 2. Speak from decision, not emotion. Most people speak while they're still thinking. That's the problem. They open their mouth before they decided anything. So what comes out is unstable, messy, emotional. And emotion is unreliable. Emotion rises. Emotion drops. Emotion contradicts itself. But decision anchors. That's the difference between people who sound powerful and people who sound uncertain. Powerful speakers are not more emotional. They are more decided. Decision creates elegance. Emotion is movement. Decision is stillness. Emotion moves. It speeds up your voice, raises your pitch, pulls you into explanations. Emotion makes you talk faster when you should slow down. Emotion makes you add words you don't need. Emotion makes you defend things no one attacked. You've heard it. Someone starts confident. Then they keep talking. Then their voice shifts. Then they soften. Then they walk it back. That's emotional speech. And every fluctuation weakens authority. Decisive speech does the opposite. It stays still. Same tone, same pace, same certainty. No wobble. That's elegance. Why people speak from emotion? Let's be honest. People speak emotionally because they want control. Control of how they're perceived. Control of how others react. Control of outcomes. So they explain. They justify. They overclarify. They try to manage the room with words. But control doesn't come from more talking. Control comes from inner alignment. You have a choice. You can speak to regulate your emotions, or you can speak from a decision you've already made. That's the key. Decision comes before speech. Elegant speakers don't discover their point while talking. They decide first. They know what they believe, what they're saying, where they stand, before a single word leaves their mouth. That's why their voice sounds calm. Not because they're relaxed, because they're resolved. Resolution kills nervous energy. If you don't know your position, your voice will betray you. That's not confidence. That's improvisation. And improvisation sounds weak. Decision creates elegance. The cost of thinking out loud. Thinking out loud feels honest, but it sounds uncertain. Every time you say, I think, I feel like, maybe, you expose the process instead of the conclusion. High-status speakers present conclusions. Low-status speakers narrate processes. One sounds grounded. The other sounds unsure. You don't need to show your mental work. You need to deliver the result. Say it once. Say it clean. Stop. Remove explaining, defending, justifying. Here's a hard truth. Explaining is often fear in disguise. Defending is insecurity with logic attached. Justifying is emotional leakage. If your position is solid, it does not need protection. Elegant speakers do not rush to defend themselves. They let their words stand. If someone disagrees, they don't flinch. They don't pile on reasons. They don't get louder. They don't speed up. They pause. That pause says, I said what I said. You don't need their permission. Calm tone is a byproduct, not a technique. People ask, how do I sound calmer? Wrong question. Calm tone does not come from vocal tricks. It comes from internal decision. When you are undecided, your voice shakes. When you are clear, your voice settles. Tone follows certainty, not the other way around. You don't calm your voice to sound confident. You decide first, then confidence shows up naturally. That's the key. Emotional speech seeks validation. Watch emotional speakers closely. They look for nods. They look for agreement. They adjust mid-sentence. They are scanning the room while talking. Elegant speakers don't scan. They deliver. They are not checking reactions in real time because they're not asking a question. They're stating a position. Decision creates elegance. Why decisive speech commands respect. Respect follows clarity, not friendliness, not enthusiasm, not passion. Clarity. When people hear decisiveness, they relax. They feel safe. They feel oriented. Undecided speakers create confusion. Decided speakers create direction. That's why people follow them. That's why people listen. You don't need to dominate. You need to be anchored. The practice. Decide before you speak. Here's your practice. Before you speak, pause internally. Ask yourself one question. What is my point? Not, what do I feel? Not, how will this land? Just, what am I saying? If you can't answer that in one sentence, don't speak yet. Think, decide, then speak once. Silence while deciding is strength. Noise while thinking is weakness. Say less. Mean more. Stop walking back your words. One of the biggest killers of authority is self-correction. You say something, then you soften it, then you reframe it, then you apologize for it. That tells people you don't trust yourself. Elegant speakers do not rush to undo their words. If they misspeak, they correct calmly. If they stand by it, they stand fully. No emotional cleanup required. Decision creates elegance. Emotion has a place. Not here. This does not mean suppressing emotion forever. It means choosing when emotion speaks. Elegance requires discipline. There is a time to express emotion, and there is a time to communicate decisions. This audiobook is about the second, when you speak publicly, when you speak professionally, when you speak to be respected. Decision comes first. Emotion follows later, privately. That's maturity. Why this feels unnatural at first. If you're used to emotional speech, this will feel cold. Good. That means you're breaking a habit. You're learning to tolerate internal pressure without leaking it verbally. That's growth. You're not becoming robotic. You're becoming grounded. And grounded people sound elegant without trying. Here's what you take with you from this chapter. Emotion fluctuates. Decision anchors. Elegant speakers decide before they speak. They remove explaining, defending, and justifying. They let calm come from certainty. Speak from decision, not emotion. Because once you master this, the next step is learning how to remove urgency from your voice entirely. And when urgency disappears, authority takes its place. That's where we're going next. Chapter 3. Remove urgency from your voice. Urgency is loud. Urgency is fast. Urgency leaks. And the moment urgency enters your voice, respect leaves the room. Let's be clear from the start. Urgency does not mean importance. Urgency does not mean passion. Urgency does not mean leadership. Urgency means fear. Fear of not being heard. Fear of losing control. Fear of missing something. And fear is always audible. Calm is convincing. What urgency really communicates. People think urgency makes them sound serious. It doesn't. Urgency tells a listener something very specific. This matters more to me than to you. And the moment that imbalance appears, authority collapses. High-status people do not rush. They don't hurry their words. They don't stack sentences. They don't push their message forward. They trust time. Urgent speakers try to force outcomes. Calm speakers allow outcomes. You have a choice. You can sound like you're chasing attention, or you can sound like attention follows you. That's the key. Why urgency sounds weak. Urgency speeds up your voice. Speed reduces clarity. Reduced clarity reduces trust. When people hear fast speech, they subconsciously think, they're nervous, they're unsure, they're trying to convince me. None of those inspire respect. Slow speech, on the other hand, signals control. Control of thought, control of emotion, control of self. Calm is convincing. Slower speech equals higher status. This is not opinion. This is perception psychology. Slower speakers are perceived as more intelligent, more confident, more authoritative. Why? Because speed implies pressure, and pressure implies weakness. No one rushes when they're in control. Think about it. The person with time has power. The person in a hurry does not. So if you rush your words, you announce scarcity. Scarcity of confidence. Scarcity of certainty. Scarcity of authority. Elegant speakers speak like they have time. Because they do. Nothing important is ever rushed verbally. Important messages are delivered slowly, carefully, deliberately. Urgent speech belongs in emergencies. And most conversations are not emergencies. When you rush a point, you cheapen it. When you slow down, you add weight. Every extra second before a sentence increases its gravity. That pause says, this is considered. This is intentional. This matters. Calm is convincing. Why people rush their words? Let's be honest again. People rush because silence scares them. They fear being interrupted, being challenged, being ignored. So they accelerate. They try to get it all out before something goes wrong. That mindset is weak. Powerful speakers do not race. They assume space will be given. And that assumption shapes reality. You don't need to hurry. You're not asking permission to speak. Pauses create gravity. Pauses are not gaps. They are weights. A pause before a sentence prepares the listener. A pause after a sentence lets it land. Without pauses, words float away. With pauses, words sink in. That's gravity. Urgent speech has no gravity. It schemes the surface. Calm speech presses downward. Say it. Pause. Let it work. The difference between speed and flow. This is important. Slow does not mean dull. Calm does not mean lifeless. Flow comes from rhythm, not speed. Urgent speakers confuse speed with energy. Elegant speakers use pacing. They vary tempo intentionally. They slow down on important points. They pause after strong statements. They don't rush to the end. They let the moment breathe. Calm is convincing. How urgency destroys authority in real time. Here's what happens when urgency shows up. Your pitch rises. Your breath shortens. Your words stack. Listeners feel tension. And tension creates resistance. They stop absorbing. They start evaluating. That's the opposite of influence. Calm voices relax listeners. Relaxed listeners are receptive. Authority flows through calm delivery. The practice: remove speed, add space. Here's the discipline. Slow your speech by 20%. Not tomorrow. Now. Between sentences, pause. Not a dramatic pause. A clean pause. Breathe before responding. Let silence exist. If it feels uncomfortable, you're doing it right. That discomfort is urgency leaving your system. Say less. Mean more. Stop trying to get through your point. Urgent speakers try to finish. Elegant speakers focus on delivery. They are not racing toward the end of the sentence. They are present with each word. That presence is felt. You don't rush something you believe in. You place it carefully. That's the key. Urgency is a habit, not a personality. You were not born urgent. You learned it from pressure, from deadlines, from insecurity, which means it can be unlearned. Every time you slow down, you reclaim control. Every time you pause, you raise status. This is not about sounding relaxed. It's about being unshakable. When you should never rush. Never rush when setting boundaries, stating expectations, making decisions, disagreeing, delivering conclusions. These moments define how you're perceived. Urgency weakens them. Calm solidifies them. Decision creates elegance. Calm is convincing. Why this changes how people respond to you. When you remove urgency, people adjust. They slow down too. They listen more closely. They interrupt less. They respect the pace you set. You train others how to treat your words. Fast speech invites interruption. Calm speech commands space. Silence is your ally, not your enemy. Urgency treats silence like a threat. Elegance treats silence like a partner. Silence does the heavy lifting. It amplifies what you've said. It creates anticipation. It shifts attention toward you. Stop fighting silence. Use it. Here's what you take with you from this chapter. Urgency signals fear. Calm signals control. Nothing important is rushed verbally. Slow down. Pause. Let your words carry weight. Because once urgency is gone, the next step is learning how to stop proving your intelligence entirely. And when you stop proving, respect arrives on its own. That's where we're going next. Chapter 4. Stop proving your intelligence. Let's say this clearly. If you feel the need to prove how smart you are, you have already lost authority. Intelligence does not announce itself. It does not raise its hand. It does not demand recognition. It waits, and people feel it. Clarity beats complexity. Why people try to sound smart? Most people don't speak to communicate. They speak to impress. They want to be seen as sharp, as knowledgeable, as advanced. So they reach for big words, long explanations, complicated sentences. They confuse intelligence with difficulty. That's a mistake. Complex language does not signal intelligence. It signals insecurity. You don't need to prove your intelligence. If it's real, it shows. That's the key. The need to prove is the problem. The urge to prove comes from one place. Fear. Fear of being underestimated. Fear of being overlooked. Fear of not being taken seriously. So people overcompensate. They stack ideas. They add layers. They explain the obvious. And in doing so, they weaken their presence. High-status people don't prove. They state. Clarity beats complexity. Intelligence that needs announcing is fragile. Think about this. Do confident people tell you they're confident? Do strong people tell you they're strong? No, they don't need to. The same is true for intelligence. The smartest people in a room often speak the least. And when they do speak, it's simple, clean, direct, unmistakable. They don't try to sound intelligent. They try to be understood. That's power. Complex language weakens authority. Here's the truth no one tells you. The more complex your language, the more responsibility you place on the listener. You force them to work harder, to decode, to interpret, and people resent that. Authority simplifies. Authority removes friction. When someone speaks clearly, listeners relax. When someone speaks complexly, listeners disengage. They nod, but they don't follow. That's not respect. That's politeness. Clarity beats complexity. Why simple words dominate rooms? Simple words hit harder. They land faster. They stay longer. They're remembered. Simple does not mean shallow. Simple means distilled. It means you've thought it through, so others don't have to. That's generosity. And generosity increases authority. You don't need advanced language to sound intelligent. You need control. Control shows through restraint. Restraint is the mark of intelligence. Knowing what not to say. Knowing what to remove. Knowing when to stop. Anyone can add words. Very few can subtract. Elegant speakers subtract. They remove excess. They remove jargon. They remove fluff. What remains is sharp. Clarity beats complexity. Let others discover your competence. Here's a powerful shift. Stop trying to be seen as smart. Let people realize it on their own. Discovery is more convincing than demonstration. When you explain too much, you steal that discovery. You don't give people space to connect the dots. Give them space. Say the thing simply. Then stop. Let silence do the rest. You don't need their permission. The difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge accumulates. Wisdom condenses. Knowledge adds layers. Wisdom removes them. Wise speakers don't overwhelm. They clarify. They take something complex and make it accessible. That's mastery. That's elegance. Clarity beats complexity. Why this feels uncomfortable? If you're used to proving yourself, this feels risky. You may think, if I don't explain, they won't get it. If I don't sound advanced, they'll underestimate me. Let them. Being underestimated is not dangerous. Being insecure is. Confidence doesn't rush to correct perceptions. It allows time to do the work. Stop hiding behind big words. Big words can hide uncertainty. They create distance. They give you time to think. But they also create mistrust. People trust clarity. They trust someone who can explain things plainly. That's leadership. That's authority. You don't need verbal armor. You need precision. The practice. Simplify without apology. Here's your practice. Before you speak, ask, how can I say this more simply? Not, how can I sound smarter? Simplify the sentence. Shorten it. Remove the extras. Say it calmly. Then stop. No follow-up explanation unless asked. Say less. Mean more. What to remove immediately. Remove. Jargon over qualification long setups unnecessary context. Get to the point. Trust that the right people will understand. And if they don't, they'll ask. That's better than drowning them in detail. Clarity beats complexity. Why simple speech feels stronger. Simple speech is weight. Each word is chosen. Each sentence is deliberate. There's no scrambling, no padding. That calm confidence is felt immediately. People lean in, not because you're entertaining, because you're clear. Intelligence is quiet. Loud intelligence is insecurity. Quiet intelligence is authority. It doesn't rush. It doesn't prove. It doesn't impress. It delivers. That's the difference. You have a choice. You can try to look smart, or you can speak with clarity and let respect arrive naturally. That's the key. Here's what you take from this chapter. Intelligence does not announce itself. Complex language weakens authority. Simple words, spoken calmly, dominate rooms. Stop proving. Start clarifying. Because once you stop proving your intelligence, the next step is learning how to control your pace completely. And when pace is controlled, presence becomes undeniable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 5. Control your pace or lose respect. Speed tells the truth. Not your words. Not your intentions. Your speed. The pace of your speech reveals what's happening inside you. Fast speech exposes tension. Fast speech exposes pressure. Fast speech exposes emotional instability. And people hear it instantly. You don't have to say you're nervous. Your pace already told them. Slow is strong. Pace is more important than content. This is hard to accept, but it's real. People judge you more by how you speak than what you say. You can have the right message and lose respect because of pace. You can say something intelligent and sound unsure because of speed. Pace is not a style choice. It's a status signal. And most people are leaking status every time they open their mouth. Why speed signals emotional instability? Fast speech means one thing. You are being pushed internally. By fear. By urgency. By the need to get through the sentence. That internal push creates external speed. And speed tells a listener, this person is not settled. Calm people don't rush. Controlled people don't hurry their thoughts. Elegant speakers move at their own tempo. Slow is strong. The difference between energy and speed. Let's clear this up. Slow does not mean boring. Calm does not mean lifeless. Energy comes from intention, not velocity. Fast speakers think they're being engaging. What they're really doing is overwhelming. Elegance is rhythmic. It rises. It falls. It pauses. Speed flattens everything. Rhythm creates presence. Elegant speakers control rhythm, not volume. Weak speakers raise volume. Strong speakers adjust rhythm. They don't get louder to be heard. They slow down to be felt. They understand this. When you control pace, people follow you. When you rush, people tune out. Volume demands attention. Rhythm commands it. That's the key. Why people rush without realizing it. Most people don't choose to rush. They react. They react to silence, pressure, expectations, other people's energy. So they speed up unconsciously. That reaction hands control away. Elegant speakers do not mirror chaos. They regulate it. Their pace becomes a reference point, and the room adjusts. Pausing before key phrases increases impact. Here's a discipline that changes everything. Pause before the important sentence. Not after, before. That pause prepares a listener. It signals, pay attention. Then the sentence lands harder. Urgent speakers rush into key points. Elegant speakers frame them with silence. That silence creates anticipation. Anticipation creates authority. Slow is strong. Why pauses feel dangerous at first? Pauses feel risky. They make you feel exposed, like something might go wrong. That fear is the habit of rushing. Pauses only feel dangerous when you don't trust yourself. When you trust your words, you give them space. Silence does not weaken a strong message. It strengthens it. The 20% rule. Here's the practice. Speak 20% slower than normal. Not dramatically slower. Not artificially slow. Just enough to feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is a signal. It means you're breaking speed addiction. Every time you slow down, you gain control. Every time you pause, you raise status. Slow is strong. What happens when you slow down? When you slow your pace, your breath deepens. Your pitch drops. Your words become deliberate. You stop scrambling for the next sentence. You start choosing words intentionally. Listeners feel safe, and safe listeners listen. Fast speech sounds like selling. This matters. Fast speech sounds like persuasion, like you're trying to convince. And people resist persuasion instinctively. Slow speech sounds like certainty. It doesn't push. It presents. And certainty is magnetic. You don't need their permission. Pace is a form of self-respect. When you rush, you devalue your own words. You treat them as disposable. When you slow down, you treat them as important. That self-respect is visible. People mirror it. They stop interrupting. They give you space. They listen because you taught them how. Stop trying to keep up. Many people rush because they feel behind. Behind in conversation. Behind in status. Behind in confidence. So they speed up to compensate. That never works. You don't catch up by rushing. You catch up by grounding yourself. Set the pace. Let others adjust. That's leadership. The moment you should always slow down. Slow down when making a point, saying no, setting boundaries, delivering conclusions, disagreeing calmly. These moments define you. Rushing through them destroys their weight. Slow is strong. Pace communicates self-control. Self-control is attractive. Self-control is respected. Self-control is audible. When your pace is controlled, everything else follows. Your tone steadies. Your body relaxes. Your presence expands. This is not about performance. It's about regulation. Why this changes how people treat you. Once you control pace, people respond differently. They interrupt less. They wait for you to finish. They respect the silence. Not because you demanded it, because your pace demanded it. That's the key. The practice. Speak like nothing is urgent. Assume nothing is urgent, because urgency is rarely real. Speak as if time is on your side, because when you sound unhurried, you sound powerful. Say the sentence. Pause. Let it land. Slow is strong. Here's what you carry forward. Speed reveals emotional instability. Pace reveals control. Elegant speakers control rhythm, not volume. Pause before key phrases. Slow your speech by 20%, because once you master pace, the next step is eliminating weak language entirely. And when weak language disappears, certainty becomes unmistakable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 6. Eliminate weak language completely. Weak language is invisible to the speaker, but it is obvious to the listener. And once people hear it, they never unhear it. Weak language quietly destroys respect. Not all at once, not dramatically, slowly, sentence by sentence. Certainty commands respect. What weak language really is. Weak language is not about grammar. It's about hesitation. It's the verbal signal that says, I'm not fully standing behind this. Words like, I think, maybe, kind of, just, sort of, a little, these words soften your message. And softness is not elegance. Softness is uncertainty. Elegant speakers do not soften truth. They deliver it cleanly. Certainty commands respect. Why people use weak language? People don't use weak language on purpose. They use it to protect themselves from disagreement, from judgment, from responsibility. Weak language creates an escape hatch. If challenged, you can retreat. You can say, that's not exactly what I meant. But that safety costs you authority. Every hedge lowers trust. You have a choice. You can protect your ego, or you can command respect. That's the key. I think is a status leak. Let's start with the biggest offender. I think most people begin sentences this way, and every time they do, they weaken their position. I think tells the listener, this is tentative. This is negotiable. This might change. High-status speakers don't announce thinking. They announce conclusions. You don't need to narrate your internal process. Deliver the outcome. Say, this is the issue. This is the solution. This is a decision. Certainty commands respect. Maybe and kind of destroy clarity. Maybe removes commitment. Kind of removes precision. Together, they remove authority. When you say maybe, you give people permission to ignore you. When you say kind of, you signal that even you aren't sure. Elegant speakers choose words deliberately. They don't hide behind vagueness. They don't blur their message. They make a clean statement. Then they stop. The word just is sabotage. Listen closely to this one. I just wanted to ask. I'm just saying, it's just a thought. The word just shrinks whatever follows. It apologizes before you've done anything wrong. It lowers your value preemptively. Why are you minimizing your own words? If it matters enough to say, it matters enough to stand behind. Remove just completely. Your presence will change immediately. Certainty creates trust. People trust certainty, not arrogance, not aggression. Certainty. Certainty says, I've thought this through. I'm comfortable with my position. I don't need to convince you. That calm confidence relaxes listeners. They may not agree with you, but they will respect you. Certainty commands respect. Why softeners make you sound unsure? Softeners are emotional crutches. They help you cope with discomfort, but they tell the listener you are not settled. And unsettled speakers do not inspire trust. Strong speakers accept the risk of clarity. They know that being clear invites disagreement, and they are okay with that. You don't need everyone to agree. You need to be clear. Replace softeners with direct statements. This is practical. Instead of, I think we should consider changing this. Say, we should change this. Instead of, maybe this could work. Say, this will work. Instead of, I'm just wondering if. Say, I want to know if. Shorter, cleaner, stronger. Say less. Mean more. Speak as if your words are final. Final does not mean inflexible. It means grounded. When you speak, speak as if you've decided you've considered alternatives. You are comfortable standing by it. If new information appears, you can adjust, but don't pre-adjust out of fear. That's weakness. Speak cleanly now. Adjust later if needed. Certainty commands respect. Why this feels scary at first? Removing weak language feels risky. You may fear, what if I'm wrong? What if they disagree? What if I sound harsh? That fear is normal, and it's the fear of stepping into authority. Authority always carries risk, but it also carries respect. You cannot sound elegant while hiding. Weak language invites challenge. Here's the irony. People who hedge get challenged more, because weak language signals uncertainty, and uncertainty invites pressure. Certainty discourages unnecessary debate, not because you're dominant, because you're clear. Clear boundaries reduce friction. This is not about being rude. Let's be clear. Direct does not mean disrespectful. You can be calm and firm at the same time. You can be polite without being weak. Tone handles warmth. Words handle certainty. Remove softness from structure. Let tone carry civility. The practice. Clean your sentences. Here's your discipline. For the next 24 hours, notice every softener. Every, I think. Every, maybe. Every, just. Remove it. Replace it with a statement. Not louder. Not longer. Cleaner. Your speech will feel exposed. That's because it's honest. What happens when you eliminate weak language? When you remove weak language? People listen more carefully, interruptions decrease, questions become clearer, respect increases. Not because you change who you are, because you stopped hiding. Certainty commands respect. Certainty is a discipline. This is not a personality trait. It's a habit. Every sentence is a choice. Hedge or stand. Soften or clarify. Retreat or deliver. Choose clarity. Every time. Here's what you take from this chapter. Weak language weakens authority. Remove, I think, maybe, kind of, and just. Replace them with direct statements. Speak as if your words are final. Because once certainty becomes your default, the next step is mastering the pause completely. And when silence joins certainty, your presence becomes undeniable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 7. Master the power of the pause. Most people are terrified of silence, not because silence is dangerous, but because silence exposes them. The moment they stop talking, they feel naked, unprotected, uncertain, so they rush. They fill the gap. They explain. They ramble. And every time they do, they give away power. Silence speaks for you. Pauses signal confidence, not confusion. Let's clear the biggest lie first. Pauses do not mean you're lost. Pauses do not mean you forgot what to say. Pauses do not mean weakness. Pauses mean control. Only people who trust themselves pause. Only people who believe their words have weight give them space. Weak speakers fear pauses because they fear judgment. Strong speakers use pauses because they expect attention. You have a choice. You can rush to prove you belong, or you can pause and let your presence establish it. That's the key. Wise silence makes people uncomfortable. Silence removes distraction. No noise, no filler, no escape. And when distractions disappear, awareness increases. Listeners become aware of your tone, your posture, your certainty. People who lack confidence feel exposed in silence. People with confidence feel grounded. That's why silence works. It reveals who is settled and who is not. Silence speaks for you. Silence creates gravity. Words without pauses float. They pass through the room without landing. Pauses give words mass. They allow meaning to sink in. Think of it this way. A punch without a pause feels rushed. A punch after a pause lands harder. Silence is the wind-up. And elegant speakers know exactly when to use it. Why powerful people pause naturally. Watch people who command respect. They don't rush answers. They don't jump in. They listen fully. Then they pause. That pause says, I'm considering this. I'm not reactive. I'm in control. Then they speak. And because they paused, their words carry authority. Reaction is fast. Authority is slow. Silence speaks for you. Pause before answering questions. This is one of the most important disciplines in this entire audiobook. When someone asks you a question, do not answer immediately. Pause. Even if you know the answer instantly. That pause changes everything. It communicates. Thoughtfulness, confidence, control. Immediate answers sound reactive. Pause answers sound deliberate. Deliberate speech commands respect. Why immediate answers sound weak. Fast answers feel eager. Eagerness sounds like approval-seeking. Approval-seeking destroys authority. You don't need to prove you're quick. You need to show you're grounded. Silence before answering is not hesitation. It's selection. You are choosing words, not spilling them. That's power. Pause after important statements. Most people do the opposite. They make a strong point, then immediately weaken it by continuing to talk. They don't trust the sentence, so they pile on more words. Elegant speakers stop. They let the sentence sit. They allow discomfort. They let others process. That silence multiplies impact. Silence speaks for you. The pause is where authority lives. Authority is not in volume. Authority is not in speed. Authority lives in restraint, in knowing when to stop, in letting silence do the work. If you rush past your own point, you signal that even you don't value it. Respect your words enough to pause. Why pauses feel dangerous at first? Pauses feel risky because you're used to filling space. Silence feels like loss of control, but that's an illusion. Silence doesn't take control away. It reveals who already has it. At first, your mind will panic. Say something. Fill the gap. Don't let this get awkward. Ignore that voice. That voice is insecurity. And insecurity must be starved. Silence forces others to engage. When you pause, the listener leans in, not physically always. Mentally, they start paying attention. They replay what you said. They anticipate what comes next. Silence turns listeners into participants. Noise turns them into spectators. Silence speaks for you. The difference between dead air and intentional pause. This matters. Dead air feels accidental. Intentional pauses feel controlled. The difference is posture and presence. If you pause while fidgeting, it feels unsure. If you pause while grounded, it feels powerful. Stillness supports silence. Move less. Breathe slower. Pause deliberately. Wise silence makes you seem more intelligent. Silence suggests thought. Thought suggests depth. Depth suggests intelligence. Fast talkers sound shallow, even when they're smart. Pause speakers sound intelligent, even with simple words. Because intelligence is associated with consideration. Clarity beats complexity. Silence reinforces clarity. Stop fearing interruption. Many people rush because they fear interruption. They want to get everything out before someone cuts in. That fear already puts you beneath them. Confident speakers assume space, and that assumption shapes reality. People interrupt rush speakers. They wait for pause ones. Set the pace. The practice: insert silence intentionally. Here's your discipline. Pause. Before answering questions, after making strong statements, when emotions rise, when you feel the urge to explain, let silence replace filler. No, Just pause. It will feel long to you. It will feel normal to them. Silence speaks for you. What to do during the pause? Do nothing. Don't apologize. Don't smile nervously. Don't look away. Breathe. Hold posture. Maintain eye contact. Let the moment stand. That stillness is authority. Pauses reset emotional control. Silence regulates emotion. When you pause, your nervous system settles. Your breath deepens. Your voice drops. You stop reacting. You start responding. That shift alone changes how people perceive you. Why this changes your entire presence. Once you master the pause, your words gain weight, your confidence becomes audible, your authority becomes effortless. You stop chasing attention. Attention comes to you. Silence speaks for you. When to use the longest pauses. Pause longer when delivering conclusions, setting boundaries, saying no, ending a statement. End strong. Then stop. Don't dilute it. This is where most people fail. They understand the concept, but they don't apply it. They panic in real moments. They revert to habits. That's why this must be practiced deliberately. Silence is a skill, and skills require repetition. Here's what you take from this chapter. Pauses signal confidence, not confusion. Silence makes listeners lean in. Pause before answering questions. Pause after important statements. Let silence do the heavy lifting, because once you master silence, the next step is learning how to lower your voice and raise your status. And when voice and silence align, your presence becomes unmistakable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 8. Lower your voice, raise your status. Your voice tells the truth before your words do. Not what you say, not what you intend. Your tone. And the fastest way to lose status, without realizing it, is through pitch. Higher pitch signals tension. Higher pitch signals submission. Higher pitch signals internal pressure. Grounded voice, elevated presence. Why pitch matters more than you think. People don't analyze your voice consciously. They feel it. Pitch bypasses logic and hits instinct. A higher pitch triggers one response. This person is under pressure. A grounded pitch triggers another. This person is settled. Settled people are trusted. Settled people are respected. You don't need to sound intimidating. You need to sound anchored. Grounded voice, elevated presence. What higher pitch really signals? Let's be honest. Higher pitch is not excitement. Higher pitch is not friendliness. Higher pitch is tension. It appears when you're nervous, rush, seeking approval, emotionally reactive. Your body tightens. Your breath shortens. Your voice rises. And listeners feel it instantly. You don't need to announce insecurity. Pitch announces it for you. Submission is audible. This is uncomfortable, but necessary. A high, tight voice sounds like asking. A low, grounded voice sounds like stating. When pitch rises at the end of sentences, it sounds like a question, even when it isn't. That undermines authority. Elegant speakers finish sentences downward. They land their words. They don't lift them. Grounded voice, elevated presence. Calm, grounded tone signals authority. Authority does not shout. Authority settles. A grounded voice says, I'm here. I'm stable. I don't need to rush. That calmness relaxes listeners. Relaxed listeners trust. Trust creates influence. This is not about sounding deep or dramatic. It's about removing tension. Why people speak from the throat? Most people speak from the throat because they're disconnected from their breath. They hold tension in the neck. They compress the voice. They push sound out instead of letting it resonate. That creates strain. Strain raises pitch. And strain is audible. Elegant speakers don't push their voice. They allow it. Breathe before you speak. This is non-negotiable. Breath comes before authority. If you speak without breathing, your voice will betray you. Before you speak, pause. Breathe in slowly. Then speak. That single breath lowers pitch naturally. It grounds a voice. It signals control. Grounded voice, elevated presence. Why breath control status? Breath controls the nervous system. Shallow breath equals tension. Deep breath equals regulation. Regulated people sound calm. Calm people sound confident. This is not performance. It's physiology. You don't need vocal tricks. You need oxygen. Speak from the chest, not the throat. The throat is tight. The chest is open. When you speak from the chest, your voice resonates. It fills space without effort. When you speak from the throat, your voice strains. It reaches but doesn't land. Place your voice lower, not artificially. Naturally, breath drops. Sound follows. Grounded voice, elevated presence. How to feel the difference. Here's a simple awareness exercise. Say a sentence while holding your breath. Now say the same sentence after a slow inhale. Feel the difference. The second version feels heavier, more stable. That weight is authority. You don't force it. You allow it. Why lower pitch feels unnatural at first? If you're used to tension, grounding feels strange. You may feel too slow, too serious, too exposed. That's because you're removing protective habits. High pitch protects you by keeping things light. Grounded tone exposes certainty. And certainty carries responsibility. That's the discomfort. And that's growth. Stop trying to sound friendly. This is important. Friendliness does not come from pitch. It comes from tone and intention. You don't need to raise your voice to be warm. You need to relax it. Relaxed voices are more pleasant than high ones. Tension is not kindness. Calm is. Why lower voice commands attention? Lower pitch travels. It cuts through noise. It feels steady. People lean in, not because you're loud, but because you're grounded. You don't chase attention. Your voice draws it. Grounded voice, elevated presence. The habit that raises pitch. Rushing. When you rush, breath disappears. When breath disappears, pitch rises. Slow down. Pause. Breathe. Everything else follows. This is why pace and voice are connected. The practice. Reset your voice before speaking. Before speaking, drop your shoulders, breathe in, let the breath settle, then speak. No rush, no push. Let the sound come from lower. Your voice will adjust naturally. Don't imitate anyone. Just remove tension. What to do when emotion rises. Emotion raises pitch automatically. So when you feel emotion, stop, pause, breathe, silence first, then speak. Never speak at the peak of emotion. Your voice will betray you. Authority requires regulation. Why this changes how people treat you. When your voice grounds, interruptions decrease, questions slow down, people listen longer. Not because you demanded it, because your tone commanded it. Tone teaches people how to respond. This is not about gender or depth. Let's be clear. This is not about sounding masculine. This is not about forcing depth. It's about removing tension. Anyone, regardless of voice type, can sound grounded. Grounded does not mean deep. Grounded means calm. Grounding is a daily discipline. You don't fix your voice once. You practice regulation daily. Every conversation is training. Every pause is grounding. Every breath lowers pitch. Grounded voice, elevated presence. The moment you should always ground your voice. Ground your voice when setting boundaries, saying no, making decisions, ending conversations, delivering conclusions. These moments define your presence. High pitch weakens them. Grounded tone solidifies them. Stop apologizing with your voice. You may not say sorry, but your voice might. High pitch apologizes subconsciously. Lower tone states. Let your voice match your intent. You don't need their permission. Here's what you take from this chapter. Higher pitch signals tension and submission. Calm, grounded tone signals authority. Breathe before speaking. Speak from the chest, not the throat. Lower your voice, not to dominate, but to settle. Because once your voice is grounded, the next step is learning how to speak as if you expect to be heard. And expectation changes everything. That's where we're going next. Chapter 9. Speak as if you expect to be heard. Before you speak, something already happened. A decision, not theirs, yours. You either decided that your words matter, or you decided to test the room and hope. Most people don't realize this. They think respect comes after they speak. It doesn't. Respect is decided before the first word leaves your mouth. Expectation creates presence. Expectation shapes perception. People don't respond to what you say. They respond to what you expect. If you expect to be ignored, you sound ignorable. If you expect resistance, you sound offensive. If you expect attention, you sound like someone worth listening to. This is not confidence talk. This is perception. Expectation leaks into your posture, your breathing, your pace, your tone. And people feel it immediately. Expectation creates presence. Why most people ask permission without words? Listen carefully. Most people don't verbally ask permission to speak. They do something worse. They sound like they're asking. Their voice rises at the beginning. Their pace speeds up. Their posture collapses. Their entire body says, "Is this okay? Can I say this? Please don't interrupt me." And the room answers accordingly. Elegant speakers don't ask. They assume. Elegant speakers assume attention. This is a critical shift. Elegant speakers assume. The room will listen. Their words are worth space. Silence will be given. They don't scan faces for approval. They don't rush to justify why they're speaking. They speak as if attention is already theirs. And that assumption becomes reality. You don't need their permission. Why assumption is not arrogance. Let's clarify something. Expectation is not arrogance. Arrogance is demanding attention. Expectation is assuming it calmly. Arrogance pushes. Expectation occupies. One repels. The other attracts. Elegant speakers don't force the room. They settle into it. Expectation creates presence. How expectation changes your voice. When you expect to be heard, your pace slows, your pitch lowers, your sentences end cleanly. When you expect to be ignored, you rush, you over-explain, you trail off. Nothing about the words changed. Only expectation did. That's the key. Posture is silent expectation. Your body speaks before your mouth. Collapsed posture says, I'm small. I don't want to take up space. Upright posture says, I belong here. Not rigid, not aggressive, grounded. Posture affects breath. Breath affects voice. Voice affects perception. Expectation creates presence. Why people interrupt you. This may be hard to hear. People interrupt you because you invite interruption through speed, through hesitation, through weak posture. Interruption is rarely about rudeness. It's about perception. Confident speakers are interrupted less, not because they dominate, because they signal ownership of the floor. Own the first second. The first second matters. How you enter a sentence sets the tone. Weak entry. Fast, high-pitched apologetic. Strong entry. Grounded, calm still. Before you speak. Pause. Breathe. Set posture. Then speak. Expectation creates presence. Stop checking the room. Many speakers do this unconsciously. They glance around. They adjust mid-sentence. They change tone based on reactions. That behavior says, I'm not sure. Elegant speakers don't check. They deliver. They trust their position. And if disagreement comes, they handle it later. You don't manage reactions while speaking. You speak. Why expectation feels uncomfortable at first. Expecting attention feels risky because it removes your safety net. If you expect attention and don't get it, there's nowhere to hide. That fear keeps people small. But elegance requires risk. You either stand behind your presence or you shrink. There is no elegant middle ground. The difference between waiting and expecting. Waiting is passive. Expecting is grounded. Waiting asks, will they listen? Expecting states, they will. This internal posture changes everything, even before sound. Expectation creates presence. How to practice expectation daily. Here's your discipline. In your next conversation, sit upright, ground your feet, breathe, speak slowly, finish sentences cleanly. Do not rush. Do not apologize. Do not soften entry. Assume space. If silence appears, let it. Silence is confirmation. When expectation is most important. Expectation matters most when you enter a conversation, you state an opinion, you disagree, you set boundaries, you conclude a point. These moments define how people see you. Show them you expect to be heard. Stop trying to earn attention. Attention is not earned through speed, or volume, or explanation. Attention is granted to presence. Presence comes from expectation. You don't earn presence. You assume it. That's the shift. Why this changes your entire identity. Once you expect to be heard, your voice stabilizes your body, relaxes, your words carry weight. You stop performing. You start occupying. That's authority. Expectation creates presence. The room responds to your lead. People take cues from you. If you treat your words as important, they follow. If you rush past them, they dismiss them. You train people how to treat you. Expectation is a training signal. This is not confidence. It's decision. You don't wait to feel confident. You decide to expect attention. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. Decide first. Speak second. Here's what you take from this chapter. Expectation shapes perception. Elegant speakers do not seek permission to speak. They assume attention before opening their mouth. Posture affects vocal authority. Speak as if you expect to be heard. Because once expectation becomes your baseline, the next step is learning how to stop over-explaining completely. And when explanation disappears, authority becomes unavoidable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 10. Stop over-explaining immediately. Over-explaining feels helpful. It feels responsible. It feels polite. It feels safe. It isn't. Over-explaining is one of the fastest ways to lose respect. Not because people are cruel, but because over-explaining signals uncertainty. Explanation is optional. What over-explaining really communicates. Over-explaining does not say, I want you to understand. It says, I'm not confident this will stand on its own. And the listener hears that immediately. They don't think, oh, how thorough. They think, why are they trying so hard? Trust drops when effort rises. Certainty is quiet. Insecurity is verbose. Explanation is optional. Why people over-explain? People over-explain for one reason. Fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being disagreed with. Fear of being judged. So they stack reasons. They add context. They defend preemptively. They answer questions that were never asked. They try to close every possible loophole. And in doing so, they weaken their position. You have a choice. You can speak cleanly and risk disagreement. Or you can over-explain and guarantee diminished authority. That's the key. Over-explaining is a form of appeasing. Let's call it what it is. Over-explaining is verbal appeasement. It's an attempt to soften impact, to manage reactions, to make sure everyone is comfortable. Elegant speakers do not manage emotions for others. They allow discomfort. Discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is information. And confident people are not afraid of it. Explanation is optional. One reason is enough. This rule will change your communication immediately. One reason is enough. Not 3, not 5, not a backstory. One clear reason. State it, then stop. If they want more, they'll ask. If they don't ask, silence did its job. Adding more reasons rarely convinces. It usually weakens the first one. Why more reasons sound weaker? When you add reasons, you signal doubt. You signal that the first reason wasn't strong enough. Listeners sense that. They start evaluating instead of listening. They think, if this was solid, why so much explanation? Strong positions don't need backup dancers. They stand alone. Explanation is optional. Let silence handle disagreement. This is where most people fail. They state something. Then they feel tension. And instead of letting that tension exist, they rush to explain. They fill the silence. They try to smooth it out. That silence was doing your work. Silence forces the other person to respond. Over-explaining rescues them from that responsibility. Let silence handle disagreement. Wise silence is more powerful than explanation. Silence communicates confidence. It says, I said what I said. I can handle your reaction. I don't need to convince you. Explanation communicates anxiety. It says, please understand. Please agree. Please don't judge me. One attracts respect. The other invites challenge. Explanation is optional. Elegant speakers allow discomfort. This is a defining trait. Elegant speakers allow awkward pauses. They allow tension. They allow disagreement. They don't rush to resolve everything verbally. They trust the moment. They trust themselves. They don't need to talk their way out of silence. Silence speaks for you. Over-explaining trains people to doubt you. Here's something most people miss. When you over-explain consistently, people start expecting it. They stop trusting your first sentence. They wait for the justification. That's a dangerous pattern. You train people how to treat your words. If you treat them as insufficient, others will too. Stop doing that. The difference between clarity and over-explaining. This matters. Clarity is intentional. Over-explaining is emotional. Clarity removes confusion. Over-explaining tries to remove discomfort. One is strategic. The other is reactive. Be clear, then stop. Explanation is optional. Why over-explaining feels necessary. Over-explaining feels necessary when you don't trust your authority. So you rely on volume. More words. More detail. More logic. But authority doesn't come from quantity. It comes from alignment. When you believe your position, you don't decorate it. You present it. The practice. Say it once. Here's your discipline. Say it once. Not twice. Not just to clarify. Not what I mean is once. Then stop. If silence follows, let it. If discomfort appears, allow it. That discomfort is respect forming. What to remove immediately. Remove. Let me explain, just so you understand. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know if this makes sense, but these phrases weaken your message before it lands. Trust your words. Why this feels hard in real time. In the moment, your body reacts. Heart rate rises. Mind races. The urge to explain hits. That urge is emotional. Pause instead. Breathe. Let the silence sit. You are not in danger. You are in control. Explanation is optional. Over-explaining makes you sound defensive, even when no one attacked you. That's the irony. You sound like you're responding to criticism that hasn't happened, that invites actual criticism. Confident speakers don't pre-defend. They wait when explanation is actually needed. Yes, sometimes explanation is appropriate. When someone asks, when clarity is required, when information is missing. But explanation should be a response, not a reflex. Don't offer it preemptively. Let it be requested. That preserves authority. How this changes how people respond. When you stop over-explaining. People ask clearer questions, conversations slow down, respect increases. Not because you became louder, because you became cleaner. This is not cold, it's composed. Allowing discomfort is not cruelty, it's composure. You can be warm without being verbose. Tone provides warmth. Silence provides strength. You don't need to choose one. The moment you should never over-explain. Never over-explain when saying no, setting boundaries, making decisions, ending conversations, stating expectations. These moments define authority. Keep them clean. Explanation is optional. Stop trying to be understood by everyone. Not everyone needs full context. Not everyone deserves explanations. Trying to be understood by everyone weakens you. Be clear. Let the rest go. Here's what you take from this chapter. Over-explaining weakens trust. One reason is enough. Let silence handle disagreement. Allow discomfort. Speak clearly. Then stop. Because once you stop over-explaining, the next step is learning how to control your emotional leaks completely. And when emotion stops leaking through your speech, true elegance begins. That's where we're going next. Chapter 11. Control your emotional leaks. You can choose your words. But if you don't control your emotions, your tone will betray you. Every time. Tone reveals what words hide. You can say the right thing in the wrong emotional state and lose respect instantly. Elegance is not about expression. It's about containment. Neutral is powerful. What emotional leakage really is. Emotional leakage is not shouting. It's subtler than that. It's tightness in your voice, sharpness, in your tone, defensive pacing, force, calm. You may think you're composed, but listeners hear what you feel. Emotion always leaks through tone, and once it leaks, elegance disappears. Neutral is powerful. Why emotional leakage destroys elegance. Elegance requires control, not control over others. Control over yourself. The moment emotion takes over, your pace changes, your pitch shifts, your words soften or sharpen, and the listener senses instability. They stop focusing on your message and start focusing on you. That's the loss of authority. Emotion is not the enemy. Expression is. Let's be precise. Emotion itself is not weakness. Unregulated expression is. You don't lose respect for feeling. You lose respect for leaking it. Elegant speakers feel emotion fully. They just don't let it drive the delivery. They pause. They breathe. They choose response. Neutral is powerful. Why people leak emotion without realizing it. Most emotional leakage is unconscious. It happens when you feel challenged, you feel rushed, you feel misunderstood, you feel judged. The body reacts faster than the mind. Voice tightens. Breath shortens. Tone sharpens. And suddenly you sound reactive. That's the leak. Reactive speech versus responsive speech. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Reaction is fast. Response is deliberate. Reaction leaks emotion. Response contains it. Elegant speakers respond. They do not rush to answer. They do not mirror aggression. They do not match emotional intensity. They regulate the room instead. Neutral is powerful. Stay neutral under pressure. Pressure reveals identity. Anyone can sound calm when things are easy. Elegance is tested when someone disagrees, someone interrupts, someone challenges you, someone provokes you. Under pressure, neutrality is dominance, not loud dominance. Composed dominance. Calm tone. Steady pace. Clean words. That contrast disarms people. Why neutrality feels unnatural at first. Neutrality feels wrong if you're used to reacting. It feels like you're holding back your being fake your losing authenticity. You're not. You're gaining control. Authenticity without regulation is chaos. Elegance requires discipline. Neutral is powerful. The trap of just being honest. Many people hide behind honesty. I'm just being honest. I'm just expressing myself. That's not strength. That's emotional dumping. Honesty without control is instability. Elegant speakers are honest and regulated. They choose when and how to express emotion. Timing matters. Delivery matters. How emotional leakage invites disrespect. When emotion leaks, people push harder interruptions, increased boundaries are tested. Not because people are cruel, because emotional speakers look movable. Composed speakers look immovable. And people respect what doesn't wobble. The practice, notice the first signal. Emotional leaks start small. A tightened jaw, a faster breath, a raised pitch. Catch it early, the moment you feel it. Pause, breathe, slow down. Do not speak until the body settles. Silence is better than leakage. Neutral is powerful. Why silence is your emotional reset. Silence interrupts reaction. It gives your nervous system time to regulate. It lowers heart rate. It deepens breath. Silence restores authority. That's why elegant speakers pause under pressure. They don't rush to respond. They regain control first. Stop matching other people's emotions. This is critical. When someone is emotional, your instinct is to match them. Don't. Matching escalates. Neutrality de-escalates. When you stay calm, their emotion stands out your authority, increases the dynamic shifts. You don't need to win emotionally. You need to stay grounded. Why neutrality makes you untouchable. Emotional speakers are easy to manipulate. Neutral speakers are not. When you don't react, insults lose power, provocation fails, pressure dissolves. People can't control what they can't move. Neutral is powerful. What to do when you feel triggered. Here's the rule. Never speak at the peak of emotion. Never. Emotion peaks quickly and fades quickly. Wait, pause, breathe, then respond. If you respond too early, you regret it. If you wait, you regain control. This is not suppression. It's mastery. You are not suppressing emotion. You are mastering expression. You choose when emotion appears. You decide how much is shown. That choice is elegance. Unfiltered emotion is not strength. Controlled expression is. Why this changes how people treat you. Once you stop leaking emotion, people test you less, conversation stabilize, respect deepens. Because people trust those who are steady. Neutrality signals strength. The moments that require neutrality most. Stay neutral when being criticized, being challenged, being interrupted, being misunderstood, being provoked. These moments define your presence. Win them quietly. The identity shift. This chapter changes who you are. From reactive to regulated. From expressive to composed. From emotional to elegant. Not cold. Controlled. Neutral is powerful. Here's what you take from this chapter. Tone reveals what word hide. Emotional leakage destroys elegance. Stay neutral under pressure. Respond, don't react. Because once your emotions stop leaking through your voice, the next step is learning how to use fewer words with stronger delivery. And when restraint meets precision, your speech becomes unforgettable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 12. Use fewer words with stronger delivery. Most people think power comes from saying more. It doesn't. Power comes from choosing less. Less words, less noise, less explanation, and more intention. Precision is elegance. Why fewer words increase memorability? The human brain remembers impact, not volume. Long explanations blur together. Short statements stand out. Think about what you remember from powerful speakers, not the paragraphs, the sentences. Clear, short, decisive. When you use fewer words, each one carries weight. When you use too many, none of them do. Precision is elegance. Verbal weight comes from restraint. Anyone can talk. Very few can stop. Restraint is what creates pressure. Pressure creates presence. When you limit your words, people listen harder. They don't know when a sentence will end, so they stay engaged. Long-winded speech trains people to tune out. Concise speech trains people to lean in. Short sentences land harder. Short sentences don't wander. They land. They don't ask permission. They don't trail off. They arrive. Then stop. That stop matters. Ending cleanly is authority. Ending weakly is doubt. Precision is elegance. Why most people trail off? Trailing off is not a vocal habit. It's a psychological one. People trail off because they're unsure how the sentence will be received. So they soften the ending. They fade instead of finish. That fade tells a listener, I'm not fully behind this. Elegant speakers finish sentences decisively. They let the period hit. Speak like punctuation matters. This is critical. Your voice should have punctuation. Periods, commas, pauses. Most people speak in run-on sentences. No structure. No stops. No impact. Elegant speakers speak in punctuation. They know when to pause, when to stop, when to end. Precision is elegance. Why clean endings command respect? A clean ending signals confidence. It says, I'm done. I don't need to add more. I trust what I said. Trailing endings invite interruption. Clean endings close the door. People respect closure. Remove unnecessary transitions. Words like, so, and yeah, these words weaken delivery. They blur edges. Cut them. Start sentences cleanly. End sentences firmly. Say less. Mean more. Why fewer words feel riskier? Using fewer words removes your safety net. You can't hide behind volume. Each sentence must stand. That's uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort means you're relying on clarity, not noise. Precision is elegance. Strong delivery is not loud delivery. Delivery is not volume. It's control. Controlled pace. Controlled tone. Controlled endings. You don't emphasize everything. You choose what matters. And what you choose becomes memorable. The difference between talking and delivering. Talking fills space. Delivering creates impact. Talkers keep going. Deliverers stop at the right moment. Talkers explain. Deliverers state. One entertains. The other commands. The practice. Cut your sentences in half. Here's your discipline. Take any sentence you usually say. Cut it in half. Remove the extras. Keep only what matters. Then deliver it slowly. And cleanly. That's authority. Why people respect concise speakers. Concise speakers. Respect time, respect attention, respect themselves. That self-respect is contagious. People mirror it. They stop rambling. They listen more carefully. Precision is elegance. Stop filling the space after strong statements. This is where most people fail. They say something strong. Then they panic. So they add more words. That addition weakens the original statement. Say it. Pause. Stop. Let silence protect the sentence. Why this changes how people quote you. People quote short statements. They don't quote rambles. If you want to be remembered, be precise. If you want influence, be concise. Fewer words. Stronger delivery. This is not about being dry. Precision does not kill personality. It sharpens it. You don't lose warmth. You lose clutter. What remains is clear. And clarity is compelling. The moments that require maximum precision. Be especially precise when making a point, setting boundaries, delivering conclusions, disagreeing, calmly ending conversations. These moments define authority. Precision is elegance. Why this feels like a power shift? Because it is. You stop chasing attention with words. You let words earn attention through restraint. That's a higher level of communication. From expression to impact, this chapter marks a shift. From expressing yourself to impacting others. Expression is emotional. Impact is intentional. Choose impact. Here's what you take from this chapter. Fewer words increase memorability. Short sentences land harder. End statements cleanly. Speak like punctuation matters. Precision is elegance. Because once your words are precise, The next step is learning how to let your body finish the sentence. And when stillness supports speech, your presence becomes undeniable. That's where we're going next. Chapter 13. Let your body finish the sentence. Your words do not end when your mouth closes. They end when your body confirms them. And for most people, that's where authority collapses. They say something strong. Then their body panics. They shift. They fidget. They look away. And the message dissolves. Stillness completes authority. Your body is always speaking. Even when you are silent, your posture speaks. Your eyes speak. Your movement speaks. And often, your body contradicts your words. You say something confident. Your body says something unsure. The listener believes the body. Every time, stillness completes authority. Why stillness amplifies words? Stillness creates contrast. Movement pulls attention away from words. Stillness pushes attention toward them. When you stop moving, people listen harder. Not consciously, instinctively, because stillness signals control. And control is magnetic. Nervous movement is emotional leakage. Let's call it what it is. Fidgeting is fear. Shifting is insecurity. Excess movement is nervous energy escaping. You may not feel nervous, but your body does. And the listener sees it. Authority drains through motion. Stillness contains it. Why people move when they should stop? Movement is a coping mechanism. It releases tension. It distracts. It gives the illusion of comfort, but it also signals instability. Elegant speakers do not move to suit themselves. They remain grounded. They let discomfort pass internally. Stillness completes authority. The moment after you speak matters most. This is critical. The seconds after a sentence define its impact. Say something strong, then move nervously, and you erase it. Say something strong, then remain still, and it multiplies. Your body finishes the sentence. Choose wisely. Eye contact replaces explanation. This is one of the most powerful shifts you can make. When people don't understand immediately, most speakers explain more. Elegant speakers don't. They hold eye contact. That eye contact says, I stand by this. You can sit with it. I'm not retreating. And often no explanation is needed. Eye contact does the work. Stillness completes authority. Why looking away weakens impact? Looking away after speaking sends a message. I'm unsure. I'm uncomfortable. I hope this landed. It breaks the spell. Holding eye contact maintains presence. Not staring. Not intimidating. Just calm, grounded attention. That alone increases respect. Calm posture reinforces calm speech. Posture is tone without sound. Collapsed posture undermines even perfect words. Upright, relaxed posture reinforces authority. Not stiff, not rigid. Grounded, feet stable, shoulders relaxed, chest open. Your body should look how you want your words to feel. Why stillness feels uncomfortable? Stillness removes distraction. You feel exposed. There's nothing to hide behind. No movement. No escape. That discomfort is not danger. It's growth. Stillness demands self-trust. And self-trust is authority. Stop performing with your body. Many people unknowingly perform. They gesture too much. They nod excessively. They react visibly. They think it helps engagement. It doesn't. It dilutes presence. You don't need to act out your words. Let them stand. Stillness completes authority. The difference between intentional movement and noise. Movement is not forbidden, but it must be intentional. Move when emphasizing a key point, transitioning, taking space deliberately. Do not move because you're uncomfortable. That movement is noise. Noise weakens authority. Why stillness makes people lean in. Stillness creates tension, not awkward tension. Focused tension. The listener waits. They pay attention. They read into the silence. Stillness turns a listener into an active participant. Movement keeps them passive. The practice. Freeze after important sentences. Here's your discipline. After saying something important, stop. Do nothing. No shifting. No smiling nervously. No adjusting. Hold posture. Hold eye contact. Breathe. Let the moment land. Stillness completes authority. What your hands should do. This question comes up often. The answer is simple. Nothing. Let them rest naturally. Hands fidget because the mind is restless. When the mind settles, the body follows. Don't manage your hands. Manage your internal state. Why this changes how you're perceived immediately. When your body is still, interruptions decrease. People hesitate before challenging you. Your words feel heavier. Not because you demanded it, because your body signals certainty. Stillness is a form of confidence, not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't rush. The kind that doesn't explain. The kind that doesn't fidget. Stillness says, I'm comfortable here. I don't need to fill space. That comfort is rare, and rare things command respect. Stop matching other people's movement. When others are animated, your instinct is to mirror them. Don't let your stillness contrast their energy. Contrast creates authority. You regulate the interaction. They adjust to you. The moment stillness matters most. Be especially still when ending a statement, saying no, holding boundaries, delivering conclusions, being challenged. Movement in these moments weakens you. Stillness strengthens you. Why stillness feels like control? Because it is. You are controlling your impulses, not suppressing, directing. That discipline shows. People feel it even if they can't name it. Stillness completes authority. This is an identity shift. This chapter is not about posture tips. It's about identity. From nervous reactor to composed presence. From performer to authority. Your body becomes an extension of your decision. Stop apologizing with your body. You may not say sorry, but your body might. Shrinking, moving back, looking away. Stop doing that. Take up space calmly. You don't need permission. Stillness is not passivity. Stillness is active control. It's choosing not to move, choosing not to react, choosing to let your words stand. That choice is strength. Here's what you take from this chapter. Stillness amplifies words. Nervous movement weakens authority. Eye contact replaces explanation. Calm posture reinforces calm speech. Let your body finish the sentence. Because once your body aligns with your words, the final step is learning how to speak once and never repeat yourself. And when repetition disappears, authority becomes permanent. That's where we're going next. Chapter 14. Speak once, do not repeat. Repeating yourself feels helpful. It feels responsible. It feels like leadership. It isn't. Repeating yourself lowers status. Every time you repeat a sentence, you quietly tell the room something dangerous. My words were not enough the first time. Speak once. Repetition is not clarity. IT is doubt. Let's get this straight. Clear speech does not need repetition. Uncertain speech does. When you repeat yourself, you reveal doubt. Doubt that you were heard. Doubt that you were understood. Doubt that your words carried weight. High-status speakers do not echo themselves. They trust the sentence. Speak once. Why people repeat themselves? People repeat themselves for one reason. Fear. Fear of being ignored. Fear of losing control. Fear of not being taken seriously. So they restate, then rephrase, then summarize. They think repetition increases authority. It does the opposite. Authority assumes comprehension. Repeating yourself trains people to ignore you. This is critical. When you repeat yourself often, people stop listening the first time. They wait. They know you'll say it again. You train them to delay attention. Elegant speakers do the opposite. They say it once. People learn to listen immediately. Speak once. Say it clearly once. Clarity is your responsibility. Repetition is not. Before you speak, decide, clarify, simplify. Then deliver the sentence cleanly. If it's clear, stop. Do not repackage it. Do not soften it. Do not repeat it. Silence after clarity creates compliance. Why silence is more powerful than repeating. Silence forces a response. Repeating rescues a listener. When you repeat yourself, you remove pressure from the other person. When you stop, the pressure shifts to them. They must respond. They must process. They must decide. Silence does your work for you. Speak once. The status signal of repetition. Repeating yourself sends a message. I'm not sure you value this. I'm not sure I value this. I'm not sure this will stand. High-status speakers don't check. They state. They allow silence. They let the moment unfold. That restraint is authority. Why this feels uncomfortable. Speaking once feels risky, because if they don't respond, you have nothing to hide behind. No extra words. No backup explanation. Just silence. That discomfort is the price of authority. And authority is always uncomfortable at first. Silence after clarity creates compliance. This is one of the most powerful principles in this entire audiobook. Say the thing, then stop. Do not fill the silence. Do not rescue the moment. Do not repeat. People comply more often when they feel the weight of silence. Silence communicates expectation. Expectation creates action. Speak once. Why repeating sounds like begging, even when it's polite, even when it's calm. Repeating sounds like asking again, and asking again sounds like permission seeking. You already spoke. If they heard you, repetition is unnecessary. If they didn't, repetition won't help. Your calm silence will. The difference between repeating and clarifying. This matters. Clarifying happens when someone asks. Repeating happens when you panic. Clarifying is a response. Repeating is a reflex. Elegant speakers wait. If clarification is needed, it will be requested. If not, silence is enough. Why one sentence is stronger than three. One sentence feels final. 3 sentences feel defensive. 1 sentence lands. 3 sentences negotiate. Authority does not negotiate verbally. It presents. Speak once. Stop translating your words. Many people repeat themselves in different language. They think they're helping. They're diluting. Each translation weakens the original message. Say it cleanly once. Let others adjust. How this applies to boundaries. Boundaries are destroyed by repetition. If you say no once and explain twice, you taught them that no is negotiable. Say no once, then stop. Silence enforces boundaries better than words. Speak once. The practice. Remove the second sentence. Here's your discipline. Notice the urge to repeat. That urge will come immediately after silence appears. Do nothing. Let the silence stretch. Breathe. Maintain posture. Hold eye contact. Trust your words to stand. Why trust is the core issue. Repeating yourself is a lack of trust, not in others. In yourself. You don't trust your delivery. You don't trust your clarity. You don't trust your presence. So you add more. Stop doing that. Trust the sentence. What happens when you stop repeating? When you stop repeating, people respond. Faster resistance decreases. Your words carry more weight. Not because you change them, because you change the dynamic. Speak once. This is not about being harsh. Let's be clear. Speaking once is not aggression. It's composure. You can be calm, polite, and firm. Tone carries warmth. Structure carries authority. Stop confusing repetition with kindness. Why leaders speak once? Leaders do not echo themselves. They make decisions. They state expectations. They move forward. They don't chase agreement with words. They allow reality to adjust. That's leadership. When you should never repeat yourself. Never repeat when setting expectations, giving instructions, saying no, ending discussions, making decisions. These moments define your authority. Say it once. Stop. Repetition is a crutch. Drop it. You don't need it. Your words are enough. Your presence is enough. Your silence is enough. Speak once. The identity shift. This chapter marks a shift from will this land to this stands. From I'll say it again to I already said it. That shift changes everything. Here's what you take from this chapter. Repeating yourself lowers status. Say it clearly once. Silence after clarity creates compliance. Trust your words to stand. Speak once, because in the final chapter, we'll lock everything in and show you how elegance is not achieved, but practiced daily or lost. And once elegance becomes a discipline, Your voice becomes your reputation. That's where we end. Chapter 15. Practice elegance daily or lose it. Elegance is not a breakthrough. It is not a moment. It is not a personality trait. Elegance is maintenance. And anything that is not maintained decays. Elegance is a daily discipline. Why elegance is never permanent. Most people think elegance is something you achieve. They believe once they get confident, once they fix their voice, once they learn the rules, it stays. It doesn't. Pressure erodes elegance. Emotion erodes elegance. Habit erodes elegance. The moment you stop paying attention, old patterns return. Fast speech, over-explaining, emotional leakage, weak language. That's not failure. That's neglect. Elegance is a daily discipline. You don't rise to the level of knowledge. You fall to the level of habit. In calm moments, everyone sounds elegant. Under pressure, only habit survive. That's why this chapter matters more than all the others. This chapter decides whether everything you learn becomes who you are, or just something you once understood. Understanding does nothing. Practice rewires identity. Daily speech awareness rewires identity. Your voice is not just a tool. It's a signal to others and to yourself. Every time you speak, you reinforce a version of yourself. You strengthen a habit. You confirm an identity. Careless speech trains carelessness. Elegant speech trains authority. You become how you speak. That's the key. Why most people lose elegance quickly. They stop watching themselves. They relax their standards. They say, it's just this conversation. It doesn't matter here. I'll be careful later. Later never comes. Elegance doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades quietly. One rush sentence at a time. One explanation too many. One emotional reaction. One unnecessary repetition. Elegance is a daily discipline. One calm sentence per interaction. This is your anchor. You do not need to speak perfectly all the time. You need one calm sentence per interaction. One sentence where you slow down, choose clarity, remove urgency, and cleanly allow silence. That one sentence retrains your nervous system. That one sentence builds momentum. One is enough. Why this works. Identity changes through repetition, not intensity, not motivation. Consistency. One calm sentence today, one tomorrow, one the next day. Over time, calm becomes default, and default becomes reputation. Your voice becomes your reputation. People don't remember everything you say. They remember how you made them feel. Your voice teaches people how stable you are, how confident you are, how much you respect yourself. They decide, can I trust this person? Do I take them seriously? Do they carry authority? That decision happens fast. Your voice makes it for them. Reputations are built quietly. No announcement, no explanation, just patterns. If you speak calmly under pressure, don't rush, don't over-explain, don't repeat yourself, don't leak emotion, people notice, not consciously, but permanently. Elegance becomes associated with your presence. Elegance is a daily discipline. Why you must practice in low-stakes moments. Do not wait for important conversations. Practice in small ones. At the store, on the phone, in casual exchanges. Low stakes build high control. If you can stay elegant when it doesn't matter, you'll stay elegant when it does. That's mastery. Stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel ready. Elegance is not a feeling. It's a decision repeated daily. Decide to slow down. Decide to pause. Decide to speak once. Decide to stay neutral. Feelings will follow or not. Either way, practice continues. What to do when you slip. You will slip. You'll rush. You'll explain. You'll react. Do not spiral. Do not self-criticize. Just reset. Pause. Breathe. Return to clarity. Elegance is not perfection. It's recovery speed. Why awareness matters more than talent. Some people have naturally calm voices. That doesn't make them elegant. Elegance requires awareness. Without awareness, natural advantages disappear under pressure. With awareness, anyone can sound authoritative. Awareness is the real skill. the daily check-in. Ask yourself one question at the end of the day. How did I speak today? Not, what did I say? How did you speak? Fast or calm? Reactive or grounded? Verbose or precise? That reflection rewires behavior. Elegance is a daily discipline. When elegance matters most when you're tired, you re emotional, you re rushed, you re challenged, you re underestimated. These moments define you. Anyone can be composed when things are easy. Elegant people stay composed when they're not. You're always teaching people how to treat you. Every interaction is training. If you rush, people rush you. If you explain, people question you. If you repeat, people delay listening. If you speak calmly, people slow down. If you stop, people listen. If you stay neutral, people adjust. Your voice sets the rules. Stop thinking of elegance as style. Elegance is not style. It's discipline. Style fades. Discipline compounds. You don't try to be elegant. You practice behaviors that create elegance. And eventually, it becomes who you are. The compound effect of daily practice. One calm sentence becomes 10. 10 become habits. Habits become presence. Presence becomes reputation. Reputation opens doors you never knock on. Not because you asked, because you earn trust silently. Elegance is a daily discipline. This is a final identity shift. From expressive to deliberate. From reactive to composed. From loud to authoritative. From needing validation to commanding respect. Not through dominance, through restraint. Final lock-in. You now know the truth. Elegance is not about sounding smart. It's not about vocabulary. It's not about charisma. It's about control. Control of pace. Control of tone. Control of emotion. Control of silence. And control is practiced or lost. Elegance is a daily discipline. Here is what remains when everything else fades. Elegance is maintained, not achieved. Daily speech awareness rewires identity. One calm sentence per interaction is enough. Your voice becomes your reputation. So, from today, speak clearly, speak slowly, speak once, then stop. Because when your voice is disciplined, your presence is undeniable. And that is elegance. Everything you've learned comes down to one truth. Respect follows restraint, not volume. Not speed, not explanation. Restraint. The world does not reward the loudest voice. It rewards the most controlled one. And now you understand why. Respect follows restraint. Restraint is rare. Anyone can talk. Anyone can react. Anyone can fill silence. Very few can stop. Very few can pause. Very few can hold space without collapsing into noise. That restraint is felt immediately. It signals confidence without effort, authority, without aggression, strength, without display. Restraint tells people, this person is settled. And settled people are trusted. Calm speech creates authority. Authority is not something you demand. It's something others assign to you, and they assign it based on how you speak. Calm speech says, I'm not rushed. I'm not reactive. I'm not seeking approval. Calm speech lowers the room's temperature. When you stay calm, others slow down tension, dissolves control, shifts toward you. Calm is not passive. Calm is dominant. Silence multiplies power. Silence is a multiplier. Words without silence are flat. Words with silence are weighted. Silence gives meaning, time to land, forces others to engage, exposes insecurity in those who rush to fill it. Silence is where power hides. Not dramatic silence. Not awkward silence. Controlled silence. The kind that says, I'm finished. It's your move. Silence multiplies power. Look back at what you've removed. You didn't add anything in this audiobook. You removed. Urgency, weak language, over-explaining, emotional, leakage, nervous, movement, repetition. What remains is presence. And presence is always respected. This is not a performance. This was never about sounding impressive. It was about sounding certain. Certainty does not perform. Certainty does not rush. Certainty does not explain itself. Certainty speaks once. Then it stops. Your voice is now a signal. Every time you speak, people will feel something before they understand anything. They will feel calm, control, stability, or they will feel tension, urgency, neediness. Your voice decides, not occasionally, every time. The final shift. From here forward, you are no longer someone who fills space. You hold space. You are no longer someone who explains to be accepted. You state and let silence work. You are no longer reactive. You are deliberate. This is not confidence. This is discipline. Return to the core truths. Remember these. Respect follows restraint. Calm speech creates authority. Silence multiplies power. These are not ideas. They are rules. Break them and authority leaks. Lie by them and authority follows you quietly. Final anchor. Carry this with you. Use it daily. Let it guide every interaction. Say it internally before you speak. Say it when you feel rushed. Say it when you feel emotional. Say it when silence appears. And end here. From today, speak clearly. Speak slowly. Speak with decision. That is elegance. And now it's yours to maintain.